Hello and welcome to the Buzzerbeater Show, episode 19. My name is David Jones, and today we're talking about the newest or the latest standings in the bubble. So, Toronto lost against Boston by 22 points. I mean, Toronto was they're they're like in, I don't really know. I said in the last podcast, oh, you should watch out. They could be really dangerous and stuff. I mean, they're a good team, but I just sometimes have the feeling that they're not. They're missing no, that's not really it too. I don't know. I know it's actually just these games are not that important and stuff, and probably um they weren't that probably not playing that serious and stuff, but who knows? Who knows? I don't have much to say to this topic, but yeah. So, the Clippers played the Blazers, and this is a really this was probably the biggest topic what was around the game, not really necessarily what happened in the well, yeah, at the end what happened to the game. So I watched this game. Gary Trent Jr. went off against the Clippers. Um, so the Blazers are down by one. Lillard has to shoot two free throws. He misses the first one, and then the second one. And Patrick Beverley and Paul George and Marcus Morris are making fun of him because, yeah, Dame time and stuff, and now he doesn't hit, and now he can't hit it, and they all say oh, this is not, there's no real Dame time and stuff, and even Skip Bayless. If you don't know who Skip Bayless is he has a show on, is it ESPN? And he makes really some weird quotes, like LeBron is not in the top 10 of his list. I mean, he just says this stuff. He just says this stuff because he wants to get attention for his show and stuff. That's completely fine. Just some people are not really, don't really agree with his opinion sometimes, and I just think to myself you don't really, there are other things to worry about than Skip Bayless' opinion, because I don't really take that really serious. Uh, um, but then Paul George and Damian Lillard had a fight on Instagram and Twitter, and what really makes no sense is that Paul George gets involved. Patrick Beverley, okay, he's he has always done these stuff, but the most interesting part is Damian Lillard has both times has hit clutch threes against those guys in 2019 against OKC, when Paul George was still in OKC, and when was it 2015 when they played Houston, and Dwight Howard was still on the team with Patrick Beverley and James Harden, and they were playing against the Blazers, and Damian Lillard would also hit this big three. These were actually, he hit his most biggest shots against Patrick Beverley and Paul George. But this time it just didn't work out. And he said to himself, I can't blame anybody for this. This is my fault. I should have hit the shot way better. But the point that I get which you don't like, that Paul George gets involved. Paul George, I know, great basketball player. But the last time he ever was relevant in the playoffs, I mean, when he would play in OKC, he lost in both years. He lost in the first round. The first round he lost against Utah with a rookie Donovan Mitchell. And Donovan Mitchell was actually the main guy on the team. They also had Ricky Rubio, Rudy Gobert, but he was the main guy. And they lost against a rookie. And that rookie didn't win the Rookie of the Year, which is bullshit, but Ben Simmons won that year. Which makes... Oh, sorry. Why do I always have to... I'm sorry. Which makes absolutely no sense, but... Then, in 2019, they lost against Damian Lillard. But if Paul George comes out and says how not clutch he is, he better shut up. I mean, in Game 7 of... Wait, did they... In the last game of the Utah series, I think, he played 45 minutes and scored only like 5 points. So, Paul George, don't tell us anything about clutchness. Damian Lillard doesn't have the greatest playoff resume himself, but it's still better than yours. I know when you play with the Pacers and stuff, you almost beat They still won. You never went to the finals. You never had... Like, last season, 2019, nobody would have thought the Blazers would come this far. Everybody would have thought, like, OKC would be, like, the new big team and stuff, but they lost in the first round against the Blazers themselves. And everybody thought, like, OKC would win that, but yeah, it's... And Damian Lillard still, like, he has beef with a lot of players. He has beef with Westbrook. He has beef with now Paul George. He's, like, still that old school, I'm gonna fight with everybody guy. I have the feeling the Clippers didn't listen to my pod because they're still not playing Kawhi and Paul George on the floor. At the same time. Kawhi didn't play against the Blazers. And they only played like a couple, like 30 games together. That's not enough. And you still have, like, the feeling they're not really, like, clicking. As you saw against the Lakers. I think they're prepared for the playoffs, but I don't know if they're prepared for the finals if they don't get enough playing time together. And that's just alone. Because you can't expect them to win the finals if they're just gonna like not play together, if you know what I mean. But in the next night, Lillard dropped 51 on the Sixers on Sunday, and they won over the 76ers. And in that game, Melo passed Paul Pierce on the all-time scoring list. Now he's 15th place. Congrats to Melo. and Damian Lillard actually had an interview where he talked about the final minutes of the Clipper game, and he didn't really avoid the questions, but he got a little mad. He shot some shots, but still, like, I think it was really, really, like, really, he ran really off on social media, but not necessarily in his interviews. He said, like, oh, Paul George, you're not putting enough effort in your game and stuff, which is, like, the biggest insult for an NBA player, because, especially for Paul George's caliber, because, you know, Paul George is a hard worker, and if you just, like, say he doesn't work that hard, that's the greatest insult you could give an NBA player ever. Yeah. And I think just like PG and Beverly seek revenge for Houston and OKC, maybe. Who knows? And they just want to get back at him. I don't know why. I mean, Patrick Beverly has always been this provocative guy who always hates on the stars and stuff, but this is weird. Why would they, like, it's, yeah. And, I mean, Damian Lillard doesn't give anybody a free pass. No. And New Orleans lost against Spurs with Zion dropping 25, but Spurs just being the more well-rounded team than the Pelicans. And Rudy Gay still has that bounce. You see that dunk? I think it was against... Was it Elvin? Wait, is his name Elvin Hayes? The rookie from New Orleans, number 10, Elvin Hayes. Yeah. He had a massive dunk against him. I just think, like, Ryan Russillo on the Bill Simmons podcast talked about this topic. That when Zion dropped his photo of him being, like, buff and stuff, and, like, that a lot of people overreacted. Myself included, because when Zion came on the floor, he looked exactly the same. Maybe the photo was taken from a different angle. I know I'm repeating a lot of stuff they said on the Bill Simmons podcast already, but I think I agree. So I would also talk about this. Just, I don't really know if New Orleans really... I always have the feeling New Orleans doesn't really care about Zion's health, Zion's playing time. Just Zion, they just don't care. And I don't get why. Like, he is the next big star, but his weight, he puts so much pressure on his legs and body, not because he does these crazy layups, just because he has this massive weight. I know he's super athletic, he's super lengthy, but he has to lose weight. At least 30 or 20 pounds. I mean, with Jokic, he lost, like, weight. You could see that, but we need to stop overreacting just because, oh, he looks like he lost 20 pounds. No, he didn't lose anything. There was just a picture of him in the gym. Maybe it was just from a good angle. And, I mean, New Orleans, what is up? Why are you not giving it any playing time? Why is, you don't care? And, yeah. I don't know. Portland could go in a mini-series with Memphis for the 8th seed. I know they're already the 8th seed. As of right now. But I would really like Memphis to go into the playoffs, but Portland would probably win because of their experience. I mean, the Memphis was ass. They were ass in this series. They were really, really not good. They were ass, yo. And it's just like, nah. It's, ugh. Damn. I want Memphis to be in the playoffs. I want Ja to be in the playoffs and prove himself, but Dame is just gonna kill them. He's just gonna kill them. I mean, it's like a best to two series. I'm seeing a sweep, like just like take the brooms out and sweep. What? Who knows? Who knows? It could be completely different. Um, and Portland won against the Mavs, and by 3 points, and Dame dropped 61, and I just think a lot of people say it, like, especially like once again Bill Simmons said himself, "Oh, Luka's happy and Mavericks by the Mavericks." Hell nah. When they lost against, who was it, against wait, they lost against um they lose against Houston, but Houston was like down by a lot. But then they came back like in the final minutes of the fourth quarter. Okay, wait. Once again, they came back in the final minutes of the fourth quarter, and Luka came. He walked like pissed off the floor, and you could tell he was like, the Mavs can't close out games. That's just a simple fact. And I'm gonna talk about later him not staying in Dallas. Just, it's like Houston is a good team, but they were like down by 10 in 5 minutes left, and they lost in overtime by 5. And then they lost against Portland? I mean, come on, man. Like, they can't close out games if they don't like figure out how to do that. They probably will, like, they will be always stuck in that drought. And I mean, if Porzingis doesn't step up soon, bruh, I mean, Porzingis has been good in the bubble, but Luka is like, he's still the main guy, and I still, sometimes there's just like the lack of effort, and I'm maybe a little biased because I don't really like Porzingis that much, but I mean, come on, you lost against Portland. Portland's a good team, but because of that, they had the 8th seed. And you can be like, there's only like 1 or 2 more game days left. Like, yeah. So I have 3 more topics for this pod. So my first one is Denver versus LA. LeBron played 38 minutes and dropped 29 points. And LeBron tries. He tried, and they won. again, on the Business Podcast, I said, like, they don't know who they are as a team. LeBron doesn't like it that he depends on Danny Green and Kyle Kuzma. I mean, probably, I get their point because Avery Bradley's gone, and now they have J.R. Smith, and they also said, like, at some point you get annoyed when you play with Dwight Howard, and I get their points. Just I don't really. I think they're really a little overreacting because I don't. I don't see the Lakers losing in the first round against Portland or Memphis or whoever. A lot of people are going to say, like, oh, you're just saying this because you like LeBron and stuff, but come on, bro. They're not gonna lose. I know they probably don't know who they are, but they have AD and Braun, and that's like the perfect matchup. And Kuzma, he hit the game-winning three. LeBron can depend. LeBron just wants to see who he can depend on. I think a lot of people are just making too big a deal out of this. And if they're saying, like, oh yeah, Kuzma, he has to depend on Kuzma, I mean, it pays off, and he just wants to see who he can trust. And if he can trust Kuzma, that's good, because Kuzma is a clutch. He hit the clutch three, and Denver is the third best team in the Western Conference. And so I think there's just too much drama to it. And my second topic. Can Harden pass everybody on the all-time scoring list? I mean, if this dude had more 40 games than he had 20 games, like 20-point games and 40-point games. I mean, for this dude, it's normal to drop like 50 points a night. Against the Mavs, he dropped like 49, and then he dropped against Indiana. He dropped, although they lost, I don't know how many points did he have, like 40, 45 or something like that. Like, this dude, like, he hits so many, he knows how to get to the line, and he knows how to shoot threes. But still, like, although he gets like a lot of these points, and Houston is like this new school team, like with the smaller, what's his name, the center of Houston, wait, the center of Houston, number 33, wait, I forgot, his name is, Robert Covington. Oh, that's my bad. Robert Covington is their center, and Robert Covington is... Wait, what's his height? Do they list his height here? They don't really list his height, but they're not the biggest team. And if your center is Robert Covington, I mean, he has a huge wingspan. But, like, against, like, those big ass teams like Indiana with Miles Leonard and shit. Like, and sometimes it's really hard for them to get the rebounds. Although, like, I mean, Robert Covington can't always do everything by himself. And he lost against Indiana. I know Russ was playing, he was not playing and stuff, but, and I know they were just getting ready for the playoffs. But I don't know if like Houston is sometimes like Indiana has a really old school post that they drive a lot. They don't shoot that much. They drive a lot to the basket, which is pretty old school, and they get a lot of buckets in the post. But like, I don't know. I think they're fine, and I think it's a really cool idea of them, like with the new I mean, and they have a lot of energy because they have these small dudes, and at the end of the game, they still wouldn't give up and stuff, and they still lost. But maybe I'm also like a little like a little too much drama on this, and Russ was not playing. But who knows? I don't know. But can Harden, like Harden? I think Harden could maybe be. He has the potential to be number one in the all-time scoring list. And I think he's now 37 or something, and James Harden is now, wait, how old is James Harden? They don't list this on NBA. Ugh, who cares? So, discussion. Bill Simmons discussed the fact that Luka could become the next Bird. I mean, Luka, he has a very similar. He can shoot very well, but he's more athletic. He's not like super athletic because Larry was never that athletic, but he has the clutch genes. He's average athletic. But Ryan Russillo said that again on the Bill Simmons podcast. He reminds him more of James Harden. Which, I mean, he knows how the James Harden, he knows how James Harden's moves work and stuff, and he's really good at it. And he knows how to perfect those moves. And Bill Simmons said himself, like, if they played more with more, like, in the 80s, you didn't, like, really play with spacing and stuff. You really had to get your buckets in the post and stuff. You didn't really, like, depend on spacing and space and stuff, but he said Luka would play very similar to, they would play really similar to what Luka does. Not, like, he said Magic too, but Magic is, nah. I think Magic still would drive and try to get buckets still try to get, like, I don't really think, like, Magic would have been, like, a point guard. I think he would be, like, more like a small forward in today's NBA. Because if he wants to, he can play defense. And he's an oversized point guard. You don't really have that anymore. Like, you call them unicorns, but unicorn is like Kevin Durant. Like, that's, and maybe Porzingis. Those are like the only unicorns right now in the league. And as like, is Luka happy? I don't. So sorry, math fan, but they don't know how to close out games, and they always say like, "Oh yeah, we're fine" and stuff. But they're still playing all their stars on the floor, and they can't close out games. I mean, come on, man. I mean, they should have to show way more effort. So, oh, my podcast is 30 minutes. Well, if you like this podcast, leave a like. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, subscribe to the channel right now and turn on notifications. Until next time, peace!